And welcome to another edition of the Bat Around. I'm your host, Paul Valley, and ask and you shall receive. Joining us on the show today, he's a little blurry, but make no mistake, that is Dillon Atkinson. Dillon, thank you so much for joining us today. Daniel Pitts asked for your presence. I believe it was Daniel last week. Daniel, if you're tuning in and it wasn't you, I think it may have actually been AJ last week, but somebody requested your presence. I reached out to you and you were like, yeah, let's do it. So we've got Dillon Atkinson on the show. Dillon, good morning or good afternoon. Geez, old habits die hard. How are you? How are you today?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Sorry, I am a little blurry. I don't know what's going on with the lighting in here, but I'm flattered that I have been requested. And as soon as you asked me to come on, I was like, I got to do this now. Come on.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Dillon, you are the ultimate family guy. You are constantly busy with your family. So the fact that you had a Sunday evening open for us, we are certainly grateful to have you here. We are also grateful for PressBox's spring training coverage as Stan the Fan Charles and Luke Jackson are live at Orioles spring training in Sarasota this week and beyond. Find their coverage at facebook.com/PressBoxSports and PressBoxOnline.com throughout the week, and they'll be checking in on Glenn Clark Radio as well. Stan and Luke's spring training coverage is brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel, Costa Sin, Easy Pass, and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org. And speaking of HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, if you or a loved one has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit HelpMyGamblingProblem.org for free confidential services. That's 1-800-GAMBLER or visit HelpMyGamblingProblem.org for free confidential services. All right, Dillon. So we wish we had better stuff to talk about having you on the show, but it's been an eventful week for the Orioles after a fairly uneventful spring training until about Tuesday. This past week brought some bad news for the Orioles by way of the injury bug. In about a 24-hour span, we learned Gunnar Henderson might not be ready for opening day. Grayson Rodriguez will likely miss opening day. Andrew Kittredge was getting multiple opinions on his knee, which is never a good thing. And then Tyler O'Neill was scratched from the lineup with rib soreness. That was probably the least surprising injury of all time. So, Dillon, happy spring. Happy spring.
Happy spring. I mean, you expect some of these things to kind of roll in from time to time. You expect, like, you're going into camp and you make your opening day roster projection based on who's in camp and everything. And then you go and you look at, you're like, all right, there's one guy on here. There's one guy who we know is going to miss April for some reason. And come to find out, it's going to be multiple. Come to find out, it's going to be multiple of them. So that's always fun. And not only some of them missing at least April, there's also a couple more thrown in there where their status for opening day is in doubt. We'll see.
Yeah, it's not the best week for news for the Baltimore Orioles. So before we get into all of these injuries, how are we ranking the seriousness with regards to the team as a whole? 1 to 5, 1 being no big deal, 5 being the sky is falling. Fire Mike Elias, fire Brandon Hyde. They didn't do enough to make this team ready for opening day. We'll start with the most recent one, and that's Grayson Rodriguez. What is your level of concern there on a scale of 1 to 5? I have my own numbers written out.
Oh, my scale of 1 to 5, and you said 5 is sky is falling?
Yeah.
Okay, there's gonna be a cop out. I'm going right in the middle at 2.5.
2.5. Okay.
And I try not to be that like knee-jerk reaction, but that's probably as big of a knee-jerk reaction as I'm gonna get. And that's just because we've been waiting for Mike Elias to address this rotation in a bigger manner. And it's clear that he came into this spring thinking Grayson was going to take the next step forward.
Yeah.
And if he's not able to do that, that's going to raise my concern level.
For me, Grayson is a 3. He's a 3 for me. It was worse until today. We'll get into the news about that here a little bit later. Gunnar Henderson, I'll give my ranking first. I have him at a 2 for this team. And I'll tell you, it's because of the fact that I think he's going to be healthy most of the year, knock on wood. I think that he's going to be back early in April, if not by opening day. And I think that he's going to be Gunnar Henderson. So my concern is a 2. It's not a 1 because he's still Gunnar Henderson. He is your superstar. He is arguably the face of the franchise. And any injury to the face of your franchise is a big deal. Just ask the Braves with regards to Ronald Acuna Jr.
Yeah, I'm kind of a toss up between the 1 and 2, and kind of basically for the same reasons that you illustrated. There's no really long term concern here, but anytime that you're missing Gunnar Henderson is going to be kind of a big deal right now. So
yeah. Andrew Kittredge.
I'm going to go with a 2 for Andrew Kittredge.
Okay.
It's obvious he's going to miss a couple months here, but it's good news that, the bullpen was already upgraded this offseason just by the fact that you're getting Felix Bautista back in the swing of things. Andrew Kittredge was basically a supplementary piece to that. Now, expect him to pitch big innings for the Orioles this season, so that's a knockdown. But I can't go to the level of a 3 or further, just because we've all seen Orioles teams in the past be able to pull just a random waiver claim out of their butts and make him a good reliever. So I'm not going to say sky's falling there.
For me, it's a 4. For me, it's a 4 because I trust this bullpen less than just about everybody else, apparently. I am not convinced. I don't think that Sir Anthony Dominguez makes it through the season on the roster. I think he's going to get either DFA'd or optioned or something. I have no confidence in Sir Anthony Dominguez, and I feel like if Brian Baker has to take valuable innings because Kittredge isn't there, your team is in trouble. I don't think this team did nearly enough to address their bullpen. Felix Bautista, yeah, he came back the other day. He got a clean inning. I think he walked a batter. But he had 2 strikeouts in the inning, threw a bunch of pitches over 96 miles an hour, and you know that he's not throwing full force right now. I'm also apparently the only one who noticed that he's dropped significant weight. Like Felix Bautista has dropped significant weight.
He looked different to me, and I couldn't pinpoint what it was. So, and I saw that you put on Twitter/X that it looked like he had dropped significant weight. I'm like, that's what it is. I noticed something was different. I couldn't pinpoint what it was.
He's significantly thinner than he was in years past. At least to my naked eye, he looks considerably leaner than he has in the past, and maybe that is part of his part of a new nutrition plan and part of a workout plan. And they're like, look, we need you to build more muscle. We need you to be able to sustain, this arm. And this is the stuff that we need you to do. And maybe he did that. And, he looks thin and he looked great. In my opinion, the splitter looked nasty the other day. The fastball, he hit 97 a couple of times. Very happy to see that from Felix Bautista, but Felix Bautista coming in, it doesn't, save you from the fact that you still have to get guys to get big outs in the 7th and 8th innings. And I just don't know that the Orioles have those guys right now until Kittredge gets back. So Kittredge is a 4 for me.
Okay.
Tyler O'Neill, he's a 2. He's a 2 for me because we learned that the Red Sox would not let him lift heavy last year. And he ended up playing about 130 games. He hit 31 home runs. And it's like, all right, that seemed to work for him. The Orioles, they aren't restricting the way that he works out. I can't imagine that they're not monitoring it and being like, hey, we'll still let you lift heavy, but maybe incorporate some flexibility exercises, some stretching, this, that, and the other. Nobody's going to be able to tell that guy how to finely tune his body better than him, because you look at him, he is built like he was literally carved out of stone. Okay.
He is the meathead on the team.
Yeah, he is absolutely carved out of stone. However, if they can kind of add to his workout regimen and they can say, hey, do this, do that, but these are the things that's going to keep you healthy for the season, then that would be great. For me, it's a 2 because he had a sore ribs and was scratching a lot of Look, he played today. We'll get into that in a little bit. And apparently the entire team is doing the whole cut off sleeves thing now. I think they're kind of mocking him, like bros mock bros. You know what I mean? Yeah. But so that's pretty funny to see. And when you look at how well built he is, Other guys who are decently built, they pale in comparison. Like the guy's just an absolute Adonis. So probably talking about how well built he is too much here. So I'm going to move on. But for me, Tyler O'Neill is he's a 2 just because he was your big offensive acquisition in the offseason. And if he's already got some kind of injury issue, even if it's mild and he's already playing again, it makes me nervous that what's going to keep creeping up for this guy.
Yeah, and I'll go a 2 as well, just because of the injury history there. But I won't go any further than that, just because of the outfield depth that this organization has, and more speaking, one person in particular is Heston Kjerstad, who is going to be getting probably part-time at bats at least to start this year. And if you are missing a Tyler O'Neill for a few games, maybe a quick 15-day IL trip or something like that, that Heston Kjerstad is stepping right in and getting those at bats. So there is someone ready right behind him to take the wheel if need be. That's why I won't go much further. But to circle back real quick and talk about guys who pale in comparison, it makes me think of for how many years we looked at Chris Davis and go, man, this guy is huge. And then the first time he was playing first base and Aaron Judge was standing on base next to him, and we're like, holy crap, Chris Davis looks like a toothpick next to Judge.
Yeah. Well, everybody, I mean, those pictures of Aaron Judge standing next to Jose Altuve, it's like Jose Altuve is standing 100 feet behind him. Like, that's how small.
Right.
Like, he comes up to his waist. So yeah. But that is a large man for sure. So, but hey, look, let's get into the nitty-gritty of these injuries here, and because what I want to look at. Oh, by the way, Heston Kjerstad replacing Tyler O'Neill. He started the spring 2 for 11, actually 2 for 14. He started the spring since March 3rd through today. He is now 6 for his last. What is that? 6 for his last 13, and he leads the team in RBIs this spring. So Heston Kjerstad breaking out of that early spring funk, starting to put the bat on the ball pretty well now. I'm excited to see what he's going to do with some extra playing time this season. This is his time to shine. It's his opportunity. I want to see what he can do. But let's get into the Grayson Rodriguez injury, and we're going to talk about what happened here. And Daniel Pitts, he commented, it feels like the team is downplaying Grayson's injury. I feel like a TJ announcement, Tommy John announcement will come at the end of spring. I'm going to leave that up just in case people are tuning in and they want to see it. 89.5 miles per hour on a 4-seam fastball the other day that was smacked for a double in the second inning. He averaged about 93 miles an hour on his fastball and topped out at 95.3 miles per hour. Then he spoke after the game, said it wasn't mechanics or physical things. He just felt sluggish, that he couldn't get behind the baseball, but that he's not letting it eat right now. That the diminished velocity is all part of the game plan. But then he shows up the next day with tricep soreness. He's shut down, and then we learn Friday that he's likely to miss opening day, and that it's his elbow, but it's not a ligament issue. Right. Well, this team has told us plenty of stuff in the past. Well, John Means is a month behind everybody else, but he'll be okay. Kyle Bradish has a partial tear in his UCL, but the platelet-rich plasma injection seems to have taken, and he's going to be on a throwing program. Grayson Rodriguez tells us it's not a physical thing. The next day we find out he has elbow soreness, and he's going to be out for a while. Then today we learn it's elbow inflammation. Again, not a ligament thing, just elbow inflammation. He's receiving a cortisone shot. He'll be down 7 to 10 days, then resume a throwing program, which is better news than I think we were all anticipating. But then you look at what we were told again about John Means and Kyle Bradish last year. Gunnar Henderson, we told, was a day-to-day injury this spring. They said that if it was a regular season, he probably wouldn't have even come out of the game. It was just light soreness in his right side. Now we're told it's mild intercostal strain, and the team is hopeful for opening day. Like, he's not even doing baseball activities right now. It just constantly feels like we're being lied to by this team. Like, there's playing it close to the vest, and then there's just straight up lying to our faces. The Grayson Rodriguez injury, should we believe it's really just elbow inflammation. He's getting a cortisone shot, and he'll be back on the throwing program in a week and a half.
It did make me a little bit more hopeful to read that he was getting a cortisone shot and not a PRP.
Yes.
So massive difference there. So unless they're just straight up lying to us and saying, oh yeah, you got a cortisone shot, and it wasn't a cortisone shot, which that would be really shady. But not the point there. We have been deceived many times before, and it makes you think, like, are the guys just showing up a day or two later and feel worse than they anticipated or something like that? Or are the Orioles really just playing this close to the vest and not wanting to lead any information out there into the public world here? And that's what really makes me feel uncomfortable about what this is going to entail for Grayson Rodriguez. Is this going to be a month-long thing? I imagine he's going to miss at least all of April.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like you said, they're shutting down for 7 to 10 days and then restarting a throwing program from there. Best case scenario, they're going to take him really slow there. And I would imagine maybe May 1st, he's back in the rotation. So I imagine he's going to miss at least the first month. If it's any worse than this, who knows what's going to happen from here.
Well, and then so let's get into who's replacing Grayson Rodriguez in this rotation. Now, Brandon Hyde said a week or two ago, that they have their 5 guys. This is before we knew about Grayson. Number 6 would likely be Albert Suarez, and then Povich is number 7. At first I was like, he has to be misspeaking, because you look at what Suarez has done this spring. 3 games, 1 start, 8 innings pitched, 13 hits, 8 earned runs, 5 walks, 3 strikeouts. Now, look, in his last outing, 3 2/3 innings pitched, he gave up 1 run on 3 hits, something along those lines. Was a lot better. But Cade Povich has looked far and away like the best pitcher on this entire team. 2 games started, 5 innings pitched, 1 hit, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts, 0 earned runs. Now, here's what we're going to talk about here with regards to Povich. We always say spring training results don't matter. It's take everything with a grain of salt because they're always working on stuff. Whether Povich is working on stuff or not, he's throwing 2/3 of his pitches for strikes. He's not walking guys. He's getting big strikeouts. The strikeouts I couldn't care less about because he's facing a lot of minor league players. He's striking out some big league guys. He's also striking out minor leaguers, right? It's the 1 hit allowed because, look, we've already seen he doesn't give up a ton of hits. The traffic that he gets is based off the walk. Well, 1 walk in 2 starts, he's dotting, right? So it doesn't matter if you're working on stuff or not. He's throwing strikes consistently. You look at that, he's a lefty. This is a ballpark built for left-handed pitching against right-handed hitting. They don't have a lefty in their rotation. He's young. And he had, a 2.63 ERA in September last year.
Mm-hmm.
For me, if Grayson Rodriguez is not starting the season in the rotation, and we know that he's not, it's got to be Cade Povich. It has to be. You can't justify to me Albert Suarez. I get the whole veteran thing. How much of a veteran is he really? Because he hadn't pitched in the majors since 2017 before last year, and he's 36 years old or 35 years old. So how much of a, by age and the fact that he's pitched in professional baseball since Cade Povich was 6 years old, yeah, that's one thing. But the fact that last year was really his first big league season in 7 years, that to me doesn't scream veteran.
Right. And honestly, when Hyde was mapping out, who the guys are behind his current starting 5 before the Grayson injury, what he could have been going off of is, 1, I've got my starting 5. That's just what it is. And naming guys after that, and realistically, I think before the Grayson injury, I think there was a greater chance of Suarez making the opening day roster in a bullpen role, long reliever role, than Cade Povich. If neither one of them was going to make the starting rotation, I imagine Suarez in the bullpen and Povich in Norfolk. So that could have been the mindset there of, I know I'm keeping Suarez no matter what. It's just what role, and then Povich there.
Right.
So that's what I'm kind of hoping he was going with there, because now that spot is open in the rotation, I agree with you 100%. As of right now, until further notice, that is Cade Povich's spot.
Yeah.
I would still go ahead, pencil in Suarez as your long reliever in the bullpen. And right now, that is Cade Povich's spot to lose as the fifth man in the rotation.
I agree. I like, you're agreeing with me, and I'm agreeing with you, agreeing with me. It's got to be Povich for now. For now, like, look,
Yes.
Povich could come out over his next 3 starts, walk 9 guys, and you're like, what the hell just happened? But again, I focus on the fact that working on stuff or not, he's throwing strikes. He's throwing strikes. He's not walking guys. He's due to start again soon. It's got to be tomorrow. I'd imagine that he's going to get another start. I'm very interested to see how he's going to do. You know, in his last outing, he went 3 innings, and he had 6 strikeouts and 1 hit allowed. I'm expecting him. Oh, and no earned runs to this point. I'm expecting him. You know, the next start out 4 innings. Then maybe he goes 4 innings a few times in a row, depending on the pitch count, and then he starts getting into that 5 inning and 6 inning mark as we get towards the end of spring training. Because look, opening day is only 2 weeks from Thursday. The season starts 2 weeks from Thursday, so it's getting here quick. And you're going to start to see these guys ramp up. You start seeing position players start playing back-to-back games here, probably sooner rather than later. For me, it's got to be Povich in the rotation. I think Suarez needs to be in that bullpen regardless of what happens moving forward, unless you really, again, Povich blows up and you send him to AAA to start the year. Now, here's a question for you. Should the Orioles rest on their laurels and replace Grayson internally until he's ready, or should they be making a push for a starting pitcher via trade? We've heard all the talks about how the Orioles match up really nicely with the Mariners to get one of their starting pitchers, or how Sonny Gray doesn't seem like he's very happy in St. Louis, and it's not the same culture in St. Louis as it used to be. Should the Orioles be making a push to trade for one of those guys? Because they traded for Burns, and we thought that they traded for Burns last offseason to add to the rich get richer type of thing. And then we learned on the first day of spring training that he was a replacement for Bradish until Bradish came back. And then it was the rich get richer. Do the Orioles need to make sure that doesn't happen again?
You see, I was of the opinion that they still needed to be searching for a trade acquisition before Grayson Rodriguez got hurt.
I was too.
You know, so it puts them in a really tough position now that Grayson has gotten hurt, because now that the entire world knows that Grayson Rodriguez is shut down, guess what? That trade price is just going up. Mm-hmm. If teams were not biting on your trade offers now, they're really not going to be biting until you start including even more and more and more. You know, so that's the tricky thing. I think they're going to stay internal right now. And if they make any move at all, I think it would be a free agent signing, which I wouldn't be a fan of them doing, which would be bringing back an old friend in Kyle Gibson or something like that, just to hold things down for a little bit. I'm at this point weighing the free agent options versus seeing what you have in Cade Povich, at least for the first month. I'd roll my dice with Povich. I still expect this team to go out and make a splash mid-season at some point. Michael Elias has shown he's willing to go out there and deal in the mid-season. Maybe not for who we want every time, but he's willing to go out and make some moves in the summer. Yeah, I don't know if you have the time to wait till the summer. We'll see, but I think we will see a move happen in the midseason. I don't think they're going to get trigger happy right now just because Grayson, the unknown of Grayson, because that trade price is just going even higher.
Another thing I think that this team is going to do, I don't think they're making a trade this spring. I think that the roster is what it is. There might be a small trade when you see guys who are probably going to be released or optioned, or guys who are DFA'd because they don't have options left that the Orioles think could help them. And it'll be like a small trade, right? But I also think that the first month of the season, they're going to be kind of looking at things and they're going to be like, all right, if the bullpen isn't doing what we need the bullpen to do, let's go get somebody, maybe a Ryan Helsley from St. Louis. Let's go get somebody and add to. I don't think that they're going to wait to the deadline to do that. Kind of like you saw Texas trade with Pittsburgh, or I think it was Kansas City. Texas traded with Kansas City a couple of years ago, and they brought on Aroldis Chapman fairly early in the season, and they went on to win the World Series that year. I think that this team knows, like, look, this can't be a lost season just because of the injuries that you're dealing with right now. You can't say, all right, we're just going to roll the dice and see what we got, and we'll just go ahead with what we have. You've got a legitimate chance. It's a down season for the American League that we're looking at right now. The Yankees have their own injuries that we'll get that we'll talk about towards the end of the show. There's an opportunity here for this team to make a serious run at not only a postseason berth, but a division title, and then try and make a deeper run into the postseason like they haven't been able to do recently. And I think that it's not going to be a long leash. They'll give the bullpen the first month, and if we're in the first or second week of May, and this bullpen is really struggling, I think that they're going to go out and do something. They've got to do something. Daniel Pitts has a question. He wants to know, is this team aware of the perception among fans that we are constantly being lied to by them? I don't think they give a shit. Pardon my language, but I don't think they care. Like the perception is reality, and the reality is we all feel like we're being lied to by this team. But if Mike Elias really cared about what the fans thought, Max Fried would be a Baltimore Oriole right now. Teoscar Hernandez would be a Baltimore Oriole right now. Who was one of the top closers that was
Tanner Scott.
Tanner Scott would be a Baltimore Oriole right now. Like, he doesn't care about the perception of the fans. He's going to run the team the way that he sees fit, and he's going to say, I'm here for a reason. I know what I'm doing. You guys feel like I'm lying to you. There's stuff that you need to know, and there's stuff that you don't need to know. And the stuff that you need to know is not going to be nearly as important as the stuff that you don't need to know. So I'm going to keep that to myself, and I don't really care what you think. He doesn't. Ultimately, the fans are what's going to keep your team, being able to perform at a certain level, because at the end of the day, the fans are who pay the bills, right? But the fans aren't going anywhere, and he knows that.
No.
So he's just going to run this team the way he sees fit.
No, the fans are not going to walk away just because they feel like they're being lied to, or we're being lied to. We're still going to turn on the television every night. We're still going to show up to the ballpark. And when Mike Elias talks, guess what? We're still going to listen.
Yep. Absolutely. With that in mind, I've got a question for you, Dillon. Did you happen to catch conversations with Juju Reese, Zach Britton, and Tim Kirkshin and more on Glenn Clark Radio this week?
I did not catch it, no.
Well, I've got good news for you. You can find them all right now in the Glenn Clark Radio Week in Review feature at PressBoxOnline.com. And as always, you can watch or listen to GCR on every Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. on PressBoxOnline.com/radio and right here on Facebook and YouTube. All right. Other injuries. Andrew Kittredge. This one was the highest ranking injury for me. I gave it a 4, if you recall at the beginning of the show. That was on a scale of 1 to 5. As in, like, holy crap, everything's falling apart. Andrew Kittredge was a 4 for me. He had multiple opinions on his left knee soreness. I, for some reason, didn't even know he was having left knee soreness. And the next thing I know, he hasn't pitched in a week and a half, 2 weeks. His knee is just sore. He did warm up in the bullpen last weekend, and it was just like he couldn't do it. So he got multiple opinions, which is never a good sign. And it turns out he's going to undergo microscopic knee surgery to remove scar tissue in his cartilage, and he's going to miss multiple months. I guess a month for each opinion that he went out to get. So with that in mind, to me, Andrew Kittredge was the signing that made me feel somewhat confident about this bullpen. I feel like if you have him pitching in the 8th inning instead of a guy like Sir Anthony Dominguez, it sets your team up nicely. Takes the ball whenever you need him to. I think he had like close to 80 appearances last year for the St. Louis Cardinals. But now you're looking at, you don't have an Andrew Kittredge at least until June, if not the All-Star break, right? And so for us, it looks like Brian Baker has the inside track for Kittredge's spot. But after retiring the first 9 batters he faced, man, thank God I know what I was trying to say because I have so many typos in my notes or different words for the word I'm trying to say. Thank God I know what I was trying to say. But after retiring the first 9 batters he faced this spring, Baker turned back into a pumpkin today. He allowed 3 solo home runs in just an inning and a third. So Anthony Dominguez is expected to handle closing duties when Felix isn't available. He allowed another home run the other day. It brings his spring training total to 4 in about 4 innings. On the free agent market, you still got David Robertson out there. You've still got Lance Lynn, who reportedly dropped 20 pounds, and he's willing to make a move to the bullpen. You mentioned Kyle Gibson a little bit earlier. If Kyle Gibson's signing, he's already up to 60 pitches in simulated games, according to MLB.com. Should the Orioles make a move for a reliever? Or because I'll tell you right now, Dillon, I have zero confidence in Brian Baker. None. And all these fans and all these beat writers and whoever's covering the team, anybody that wants to speak, to anybody who's willing to listen, Brian Baker looks great. The fastball's touching 99 and his changeup looks like 2022. And I'm Brandon Hyde and I love Brian Baker. Even if he walks the bases loaded for Jacob Webb to give up a grand slam in the playoffs. Like, I don't trust him. I don't know how the Orioles can trust him. I don't want him being the replacement for Andrew Kittredge. Go sign somebody. David Robertson is literally standing outside of Ed Smith Stadium as we speak with a bullhorn. Hey guys, you know I'm a free agent, right? And I had a 3 ERA last year, and I've been really good for a really long time. Come and get me. I'm literally at your doorstep. He's out there. Why is he not a Baltimore Oriole right now?
Oh, man. That was beautiful what you just did. That really was. And this is coming from me, who was formerly a Brian Baker apologist.
Get off. I'll finish the show. I'll finish it myself.
I'm sorry, AJ. I got to go. There was always something about Brian Baker, especially in his early time as an Oriole, that drew me toward him. The changeup was always nasty. It was just whether or not he could command it. But right now, I'm kind of right there with you, where I'm at my wit's end there, and it's fine when you have a Brian Baker who still has options remaining. You stash him on AAA, and he's the guy that you continue to bring up and down, a la Nick Vespi. You use him your 6 up and downs, where he's going to probably come into 15, 20 ball games for you throughout the year as he goes up and down between Baltimore and Norfolk. But this year, he doesn't have any options, and that's probably the only reason why he has an inside track at that final bullpen spot. Is because
he's going to make the team. He's going to make the team.
Yeah. Now, I kind of want to see someone else, and literally anybody. We have seen the Orioles bring up arms that we're like, where the heck did this guy come from? And he's pitching quality innings for the Orioles. Give me someone else, and even if it's one of these guys that you picked up on a waiver claim, whatever it may be, give someone a chance. Everyone's ranting and raving about Rodolfo Martinez in there, and you have your Colin Selby's of the world and everything, your Birch Smiths of the world from last season, where it's kind of like, just give someone a shot and see if they can at least ride a hot hand until Kittredge is ready to come back. If you're not going to go out there and sign a David Robertson, I would love if they signed David Robertson. I just don't see them going out and pulling a trigger on something like that, at least to start the season. If he's still unsigned come opening day, and first couple weeks go through and we see that this bullpen is a complete dumpster fire, then maybe they pull the trigger on something. But still in spring training, I think they're going to see what they have in-house first.
Yeah, I think that ultimately that's what they're doing. I would love. I am. You say you're a Brian Baker apologist. I am a Lance Lynn apologist. I've loved Lance Lynn since his first run in St. Louis. That was a guy who I thought the Orioles should have gone after in free agency a lot over the last 5 or 6 years. And I would love to see Lance Lynn in an Orioles uniform pitching at the back end of their bullpen, because that dude, he had a 3.83 ERA last year. Now I think he had like 111 innings pitched. But look, if he's in the twilight of his career and he's willing to make a move to the bullpen, and you have a bulldog like Lance Lynn in your bullpen, a guy with that kind of experience who's been pitching for winning ball clubs, except for the White Sox, his entire career. You can't convince me that guy can't go into the back end of your bullpen and get big outs for you in big situations. I would love to see that. David Robertson, I'd be okay with that too. I know that Craig Kimbrell came in and sucked the life out of everybody around him in the second half of the season. I don't think that's what's going to happen with David Robertson. The guy's been pitching. I think he's 41 years old. He's 5 years older than Craig Kimbrell, and has been really, really productive his entire career. I would love to see David Robertson in Baltimore, either of those guys. But I know it's going to be Brian Baker. I mean, there's no getting around it. It's going to be Brian Baker running down that orange carpet on, what is that, March 31st or whatever day that is, that Monday in Baltimore. It's going to be him. Dillon, while we're talking about that, I don't have opening day tickets yet. Now, that's not really a big surprise. I never have opening day tickets until usually a couple of weeks before the season starts. I haven't missed opening day since 2007. That was the last year that I didn't go. And I don't know that I'm going this year. Nobody gives a crap. Nobody cares that Paul Valley's not going to opening. Paul Valley cares, but nobody else cares.
That seat's going to be filled regardless, Paul.
Yeah, it's going to be filled regardless, right? But when Brandon Hyde was announced as coming back 18 hours after the Orioles lost the final game of that wild card series in October, like they didn't even maybe they had a conversation with him and they're like, look, your seat's hot. We're not telling people your seat's hot, but your seat's hot. But the fact that they made that announcement so quickly after I thought he made decision after decision that cost that team both games in the postseason last October, and I watched him keep the team out of the postseason in 2022, and watched him make poor decisions that cost him the postseason in 2023 as far as winning games in the postseason. For me, my buddy says to me, my best friend in the world, he was like, look, man, he's like, Brandon, he texted me late that night after game 2, and he said, hey, if Brandon Hyde's back next year, I am not going to opening day. Don't even ask me. I'm not going. And I was like, I might not be able to either. And then when he was announced so quickly, I was like, oh, I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can do it. And I told my wife that. She's like, you're really not going to go to opening day? I was like, I'm going to tell you that I'm not going to go. But I also want you to understand that this is me that we're talking about. And so in March, when I tell you that I'm going to go to opening day, I don't want you to be surprised, because, that's probably what's going to happen. So what's probably going to happen is a week before opening day, I'm going to find some $40 tickets on TickPick, and I'm going to go to opening day. But as of right now, I don't have tickets, and I'm not positive that I'm going to, and which is weird for me. It's weird for me, but I don't know, man. We just bought a house. We've got a mortgage for the first time ever. I'm like, I don't know, but nobody cares about Paul Valley going to opening day, but I just figured I'd put it out there because for me, I haven't missed this would be 19 straight seasons that I've gone to opening day, but I don't know that I can justify it this year, but I'll probably go.
I'm usually an every other year kind of guy, and it's not planned that way. It's just kind of how it shakes out.
Right.
It shakes out, whether it's something going on with work or the family, whatever it may be, whatever the decision's made, it just always turns out that I'm every other year. So we'll see what happens this year.
I got to figure it out, though, because my wife just started working Mondays now instead of Tuesdays. So I would have to have somebody lined up to pick up my daughter from daycare, which is another reason why I'm not positive that I'm going. If I could find somebody, maybe it increases the chances from like 30-70 not going to maybe it's like 45-55 not going.
Right.
I don't know. And then maybe if the Orioles trade for Sonny Gray and they sign David Robertson, then maybe it becomes 95-5 that I am going. It really just depends. I'll be at plenty of games this year. I go to plenty of games. I'll be there at some point. If I don't make it to opening day, maybe I'll go to opening night on Wednesday and take my best friend, $20 seats, and we'll be good to go. We'll see. You'll be good to go if you pick up the latest edition of Press Box, which is available now. On the cover, Orioles owner David Rubenstein sits down for a Q&A with Stan the Fan Charles and Glenn Clark. Also inside, we meet new Oriole Tyler O'Neill, whose ribs seem to be just fine, as well as college lacrosse players from around the state. You can find the new issue all throughout the region, including at 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. So, mentioned it a little bit earlier. The New York Yankees are facing a challenge with their starting rotation. Luis Gil is going to be out for at least 3 months. What's that injury again? Because I meant to look it up and I forgot to.
Uh,
You don't know either?
I'm not sure. No, I'm looking it
All
up.
right.
Give me a second. Circle back. I'll have it.
All right. Well, Luis Gil is he's out for 3 months, at least 3 months with some kind of injury. I'm guessing it's to his throwing arm. He'll is that high grade right lat a high grade right lat strain, which lost Grayson Rodriguez 3 months of the season back in 2022, and we saw it cost him the final 7 weeks of the season last year. So if he has a high grade right lat strain, he's probably missing at least 3 months, and that's before he even starts ramping back up, right?
Yep.
And then we've also found out that Garrett Cole is having tests done on his throwing elbow. He missed the better part of spring training last year with the elbow injury. Didn't make his first start until May for the Yankees, and he was shaky until the second half of the season. Garrett Cole, you take Garrett Cole and Luis Gil out of that rotation, and now you've got Max Fried. That's cool. That's your replacement for Garrett Cole. And then it's Rodon, Stroman, Clark Schmidt. You traded away Nestor Cortez to pick up Devin Williams. Yankees now stop looking like the favorite for that division in a lot of people's eyes. And it just goes to show that injuries. George Kirby out in Seattle, he's gonna miss the start of the season with an injury. So no team is immune to injuries, especially this time of year. Misery loves company. If it's the Yankees who are missing their rookie of the year and their Cy Young ace starting pitcher, I think we're all okay with that. Woo! You don't want to wish bad stuff to people and injuries to people. But if it's the Yankees, you're not going to die, and you're still going to pick up your multi-million-dollar paycheck every month. So I think I can be okay with you having a lat strain or a broken elbow or just sucking when you go out and pitch the Yankees.
And we never want to see anyone, regardless of who they play for, go down with an injury. We're not rooting for the players to get injured, but we're rooting for the misery of the Yankees. That's what it is.
That's you. I hope Judge tears every ligament he's got in his knee, personally. But no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I mean, come on, man. If Aaron Judge gets hurt and he suddenly only hits 23 home runs this year instead of 64, are you gonna say, "Oh man, I didn't want him to get hurt"? Bull crap. You want Aaron Judge to get hurt just like everybody else in the American League East that's not a Yankee fan wants him to get hurt. I don't need Aaron Judge tormenting the Orioles' new left field wall and hitting 10 of his 64 home runs in Camden Yards this year. Aaron Judge can go suck an egg. I hope he gets hurt. But not in a devastating way. Not in like a way where like he's debilitated for the rest of his life. Just like maybe he misses 90 games this year. I'm cool with that. He'll still probably hit 30 home runs in those 72 games. But like if he has to miss 2/3 of the season, I'm not going to boo-hoo about it because, oh man, I don't wish injuries on anybody. He's not going to die, and he's still going to make his $40 million this year.
Okay. Yep. and you know what? You mentioned earlier, hit 23 homers. Was he only playing a month?
Yeah, right. The month of June. He comes back for the month of June. It has the toe injury comes back. He's not around to play April and May. Comes back in June, hits 23 home runs, and then he has to have microscopic knee surgery to remove scar tissue from the cartilage in his left knee, a la Andrew Kittredge, and then he has to miss the rest of the season. I'm not going to be upset about that. I'm not going to be like, man, I wish he didn't get hurt. That sucks. No, like that's the only way you're slowing that man down is if he gets injured.
Fair. Yeah.
But your thoughts on what does it mean for the rest of the division if we want to get a little serious here? Not serious. What does it mean for the rest of the division if the Yankees are without Luis Gil for half the season and Garrett Cole for potentially the entire season? And do the Yankees suddenly go out and make a trade for a Sonny Gray like the Orioles should be doing right now?
I don't know that the Yankees are going to pull a panic button. Although if all these things keep going downhill for them, it is going to make things a little more wide open in the AL East for pretty much anybody. Every club in the AL East has a reason to be excited, and every club in the AL East has a reason to be pissed off that their club didn't do more in the offseason. Every single one of them. I mean, we saw the Red Sox are excited because they went out and got Alex Bregman, Garrett Crochet. They made some key additions, but they also lost a corner outfielder in Tyler O'Neill and didn't replace that corner outfielder.
Mm-hmm.
The Yankees went out and got Max Fried. Exciting, but they also lost Juan freaking Soto.
Yeah.
Toronto got Santander, but everyone's still pissed off because Vladdy's not extended. So there's everyone in the AL East has a chance this season, and it seems like we say this every single season. It's just who has a higher chance and who has a lower chance. But really, with the injuries falling for almost everybody right now, I really feel like go back to that World Baseball Classic. What was it? That high school science teacher that struck out Shohei Ohtani? Someone needs to sign him pronto. You know what? Orioles, get him to replace Kittredge.
Yeah. Get somebody. I need to see this team go out there and look, if you're not gonna sign, I'm still gonna watch. I'm still gonna be a fan. I'm still gonna root for this team. I still think this team is very, very good and they're gonna make the postseason. I do, but I don't like. This is what we were worried about. We saw all the injuries last year in spring training, and we thought to ourselves, okay, well, Bradish, he seems to be responding to the PRP injection, and John means he's going to come back. He's going to come back and he's going to be good. And there was a 3-4 week stretch where the Orioles starting rotation was arguably the best in all of baseball. I think that I think their rotation ERA was like 2 and 2. Oh my God, I was about to say 2 and 5/8 because you can tell I do mortgages. It was like 2.68. When
Cole Irvin was dealing.
Burns and Means and Bradish and Grayson and even Kramer was dealing. Then Kramer he has to miss 6 weeks with an injury. And John Means has to go have Tommy John surgery. Tyler Wells had to have Tommy John surgery early in April. Kyle Bradish has to go to have Tommy John surgery. And it was like, well, crap. Now thought we had one of the deepest rotations in all of baseball. Now we're scratching and clawing to see what's going to happen. Thank God Albert Suarez was able to step up. Thank God Kate Povich was able to step up. But the bullpen fell apart when Danny Coulombe and Jacob Webb got hurt,
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't. And when Craig Kimbrell got hurt, not got hurt, but he might as well have gotten hurt. He just started to suck the life out of everything.
Yeah.
You've got Felix Bautista back, but now what are you gonna do without a Kittredge? And Danny Coulombe's not here anymore, and Jacob Webb's not here anymore. And Cionel Perez has been good, not great the last couple of years, and you never know what you're gonna get with Yennier Cano from one day to the next. What's going to happen with this bullpen. So I think that the Orioles have additions to make. I don't know that they're going to sit on their hands the rest of the spring. I feel like like I said earlier in the show, you could see a minor trade here, or maybe a significant trade there. Nothing like a Sonny Gray or Ryan Helsley, at least not at this part of the season. But I think that they're going to try and bring in somebody that's going to help this team. But if they don't, I'm going to do what I did every year. From 1998 to 2011, somehow convince myself that this team is a lot better than they are, and I'm going to get on board with whatever is happening and let the pieces lay where they fall, or fall where they may. I think that's a terminology.
You have no idea how much I talked myself into Travis Snyder in 2015.
Yep. And he had like 9 RBIs the first week.
He was outstanding in April for the Orioles in 2015. I was like, see, I knew this was going to be a great signing. And then May hit, and he was like, nope, I'm a scrub. It was like, oh, no, here we go.
Oh, man, Travis Snyder. Talk about a name that I would probably have never thought of his name again for at least 3 more years. It would have just popped into my head randomly. But I haven't thought about Travis Snyder in probably 4 years. I think he was still toiling around in the minors about 4 years ago. But that guy, he had like 9 RBI like the first 10 games of April, and then I think he had like 20 RBI the rest of the year.
Yep. And I remember I always did that, especially in those 2014 to 2016 years where I was talking myself into anything Dan Duquette did at that time. Where I would be originally pissed off about it happening, and then like a week later be like, wait, this could actually work out. And that's what I did with that Travis Snyder trade. Because I was like, second half of 2014, Travis Snyder was amazing. So he's going to carry that in. And he did for April. That was it.
I wrote an article after Nick Markakis signed with the Atlanta Braves saying I love Nick Markakis. He's one of my all-time favorite Orioles. He's probably top 3 to 5 for me all time.
Okay.
But I justified the Orioles not adding that 4th year because he had just had neck surgery. You weren't sure what you were going to get out of him. And I was like, look, I get it. He's on the wrong side of 30 now. He just had neck surgery. The power has been gone for a few seasons. What are you realistically going to get out of Nick Markakis over the next 4 seasons? I agree with them. And look, I was wrong, and I didn't actually believe it. I just wanted to because I wanted the Orioles had just made the playoffs 2 of the previous 3 years. They just had the best record, the second best record in all of baseball in 2014, and won the division for the first time in 17 years. I had convinced myself that Nick Markakis move made sense. I also convinced myself that the Orioles did right by Nelson Cruz. They offered him more average annual value than the Mariners, but the Mariners added a 4th season, and he wanted that security, and the Orioles were only willing to go 3 years. I'm like, look, he's 33 years old, 34 years old. All he did was hit 40 home runs each of the next 6 years, right? And so I legitimately convinced myself that these moves were okay to not bring back Cruz and to not bring back Nick Markakis. And then they went 81-81 in 2015, and that included a 5-game winning streak to end the year. And so it was like, boy, was I wrong. Boy, and it's not even that I was wrong. Boy, was I wrong to buy in because this is my team. But that's like what we do. You talk about it for a little bit, and then you say, I love this team, and I'm gonna say, I get where they're coming from with this, even though deep down you really don't. And like I said, Nelson Cruz hit 40 home runs for like 6 straight seasons after that. Nick Markakis won a couple of Gold Gloves. I think he was close to the top of the National League in hits one season, and he made his first All-Star game. So it sucks that he retired right before the Braves won the World Series in 2021. And Nick Markakis, like, legitimately, if he played 5 more years, he would have come close to getting to the 3,000 club. I think that he just knew he had a solid career and he was ready to be done. He was like, look, I'm not going to be in the Hall of Fame. There's nothing to chase there. I'm done. Like, but Harold Baines is in the Hall of Fame. I'm just saying.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, but yeah, we convince ourselves that these teams are that these Orioles teams, what they did in the long run is the right move, and we'll do it again. We'll do it again this year. Until they suck, and then in June we'll be beating our chest. Well, I told you so. I told you they needed to get somebody as a contingency plan for Grayson and for Felix Bautista not being the mountain. We'll pound our chest and we'll say I told you so, even though we're sitting here right now. We'll figure out how to root for
it. Right. And I'll say, and I was the same way as you after that 2014 season, where I was like, I would give Markakis a 3-year deal, and I would give Cruz a 3-year deal. Absolutely pay him up for those 3 years. Oh, they want 4? I don't think they're going to be good in that 4th. And I'm sitting there saying that now. I'm thinking back now, and we're seeing teams now give these players 10-year, 11-year contracts, knowing full well they're not going to be worth a nickel after year 7. And they're like, I know we're carrying dead money for the last 4 years of that. I don't care. I'm like, so it's kind of funny now looking back and going, yeah, maybe the Orioles should have just given that 4th year.
Yeah.
And if it was a dead year, so what? You got 3 good ones.
Yeah, exactly. And with Markakis, now here's the thing. The Orioles, they knew that they screwed up by the end of 2015, not bringing Cruz back, not bringing Markakis back. They really fell back. They lost 15 games more than they did the previous season. And that's what you lost with Markakis and Cruz not being here. So what did they do in prior to 2016? They traded Steve Clevenger for Mark Trumbo, basically straight up. And then Mark Trumbo led the majors in home runs, was an all-star for the Orioles, and they went back to the postseason. We know what happened, but they went back to the postseason. They won 89 games, got back into the playoffs. So if they re-sign Cruz, if they re-sign Markakis, Trumbo's probably not here. However, I still think that the Orioles are a better team with both of those guys than just having Trumbo in 2016. And maybe 20. And chances are 2017, they started 2017 22-10. They had the best record in baseball through 32 games, and then they ended up only going 78-85. that season. And then in 2018, they 47 wins. But they probably are better baseball teams each of those seasons if they have Markakis and Cruz under lock and key. But then you look at, well, if they don't fall off a cliff like they did in 2018, I'm not saying that Cruz and Markakis make the difference from losing 115 games to winning 78 to 82 games. That's not what they would have done. But they probably win 60 games and don't have the worst record in baseball. And then they don't end up with Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson. So this all has a domino effect. As much as we would have loved to have those, and they should have built a team around Manny Machado and given him a fair contract extension following the 2016 season. They didn't do that. Now you look back on it without those things happening. If those things that happened didn't happen and they did sign those guys, the guys that we have now that this team is built around, who are superstars in their own right, they're not here. And we're probably looking at a different Orioles team completely. So maybe those moves in the long run were the right moves for the organization, even if we couldn't see it back then. And so maybe Mike Elias lying to us right now is the right move for the organization, even though we can't see it right now. You see how I brought
it all back.
Brought it all back. But I don't know. And again, see, that's just me coping. That is just me coping with this team needing another back-end reliever and another starting pitcher.
Oh, Paul just purchased his opening day tickets.
Did I share my screen? Do you see me on TickPick right now? Let me cancel this out real quick. Now, look, if you guys are just tuning in, today's show is brought to you by County Sports Zone. You can find every score from every high school sporting event all year long at countysports.zone. Proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Dillon, I told my wife I'd try and get out of here a little bit earlier today. She had no faith or confidence I would ever be able to do that because this show's only supposed to be an hour long. And if we're done, if we're almost to the end with about 5:55, I'm like, no, we gotta go at least an hour and a half. I don't know why I ever turned this into an hour show. I could totally do 2 hours every time I do this show, but 1 hour allows me to get more co-hosts like you to join the program. So I'm going to prove my wife wrong, and I'm going to be out of here by no later. I mean, out of the office in my car, driving home by 6:30. So we're going to jump right into our viewer interaction here. AJ Mukherjee. Yeah, my man Dillon Atkinson on the show today. AJ, I did that solely for you. Now, admittedly, I did it selfishly for me because I love Dillon. I loved having Dillon on the show. But I was like, I'm going to ask Dillon early this week. And by early, I asked him on Thursday. I was like, I'm going to ask Dillon to do the show because AJ requested him. If I tell him that somebody specifically requested him, it might make him more likely to jump on. And so did the conversation with your wife go, babe? They specifically asked about me. What am I doing for my fans if I don't get out there? When
the conversation
is that how that conversation
actually went a little bit like that. She was like, "People don't ask for you." So now I got receipts. I can show her the proof.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So AJ, asking you shall receive. Dillon was here. Now I don't know that we'll get Dillon back again the rest of the year after this. His wife might be like, "Huh, nope. Every every Sunday we're going to the aquarium now. I let you do the one." No, I'm just kidding. I don't know anything about your wife. I did meet her, and she's a lovely, wonderful woman. You got 2 kids, man. When I have 2 kids, I probably won't be allowed to do this show either, you know?
I don't know if you can hear all the stomping that's going on above me right now. Kids are running buck wild upstairs.
I cannot. Well, last week with Zach Moore on the show, his kids came into the room as we were doing the viewer interaction section because his baby was crying and they couldn't get her to stop. So he was like, "All right, I gotta go, Paul."
Completely understand that.
We all got kids. Completely understand. AJ says, "I'm confused why these stat geeks didn't factor into their calculation that Grayson would go on the shelf this year after what happened with Bradish last year, and signing 2 geriatric guys and another one in the pen who is also going on the shelf." I did put it in the description for this show that we were going to talk about how it looks like the Orioles signings of Charlie Morton and Tomoyuki Sugano are paying dividends for the team. So we are going to go look at what Charlie Morton has done, the geriatric signing, the 41-year-old starting pitcher. This spring training in 3 games covering 3 starts, 6 innings pitched, he has 5 strikeouts, a 0 ERA, and a 0.83 whip, which is in those 6 innings pitched. He went 1 inning, allowed 2 hits, no walks, no strikeouts, no runs his first start. Second start, 2 innings, 1 hit, no walks, 1 strikeout. Third start, 3 innings pitched, 1 hit, 1 walk, and 1 walk. How could he? 1 walk and 4 strikeouts. You're looking at 5 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts for Charlie Morton. And then if you want to go look at Tomoyuki Sugano, and you look at what he's done this spring. Dead air. Sorry about that. First start, 2 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 walk, no strikeouts, no runs. Second start, 2 innings pitched, 2 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. Third start, which was today against Minnesota, the Orioles had split squad. He went and he picked up the win today. 3 innings pitched, no hits, no runs, no walks, 5 strikeouts. 19 pitches, 19 pitches, 19 strikes in those 3 innings.
That doesn't sound right.
That
does
can't
not
be
sound right at all.
That can't be right. That means that he had just immaculate innings.
Yeah.
He had 5 strikeouts on 15 pitches, and then
that doesn't sound right at all.
And then the other 4 outs were on 1 pitch. That's not right. That's not right. That would literally mean that it was immaculate. That he threw 19 pitches, he had 5 strikeouts, and he had 4 1-pitch outs. That is inaccurate, and I'm sorry that I fed you that BS. Let me take a second here because maybe it actually says on the MLB app what he did.
That's what I'm looking at right now.
Let's
see. I'm trying to find it here on MLB now.
It doesn't have pitches thrown, which is weird because earlier this year in one of the early spring training games, they had the pitches thrown. So
I'm not seeing it.
I'll bet that Rock has my connection is not private. I don't need it to be private. Get out of here. I'm gonna. Anyway, look, both of those.
As far as we're concerned, he threw 19 pitches and 19 strikes. So Sugano is in 8.
5. He had 3. He had 2 immaculate. Well, he had 1 immaculate inning. He had 5 strikeouts on 3 pitches each, and then 4 1-pitch outs. That's what he did. I don't. What are we doing?
That is efficient.
That is the definition of efficiency. My phone's telling me that my connection's not private for some reason. I don't know what the hell's going on with that. But the 2 guys have combined for 11 innings pitched in 6 starts. They've combined to allow, what is that? 3 hits, 4 hits.
Mm-hmm.
They've combined for 3 walks and 12 strikeouts. 35 and 41 years old. Look, we said it before. I've said before. This Orioles rotation, every pitcher in this rotation could pitch to a 4.5. They could pitch to a 3.5. It just depends on what's going to happen. And look, AJ, I'm not trying to diminish you or anything like that. The whole fact is, I agree with you in the sense that you have to factor in the fact that Grayson Rodriguez went on the shelf with a shoulder injury and then the lat teres injury last year. He went on the IL twice last year. 2 years prior to that, he missed 3 months with the lat teres injury. You have to be thinking in the back of your mind, I don't think he's injury prone, but it's got to be there in your mind that he could get hurt. Not to mention the fact that and you probably told him to do this, he switched up his delivery to take some strain off of that lat. Well, that's probably going to come with some arm issues because it's a completely new delivery, more over the top instead of that 3/4 that we're used to seeing from Grayson. And so you do have to be when I saw, because we didn't know about this talking throughout the entire offseason, he changed the mechanics in his delivery. We didn't know about this. When I read that the first week of spring training, my first reaction in my mind, I didn't say it out loud because I was by myself, but my first reaction was, how do you expect him to be the same guy if he changed his delivery? That's going to take some tinkering. That's going to take some time for him to get going with that. And that could cause some kind of discomfort. And sure enough, it's caused some discomfort to the point he has elbow inflammation. Do I think he's going to be okay? Ultimately, I believe he'll be fine. Even if he has to have some kind of surgery, I think that he's going to pitch a lot of quality games for the Orioles over the next several seasons. He's still under team control through 2030. So I look at Grayson Rodriguez, and I'm not overly concerned. Maybe for this year, I'm a little concerned. I do think that you need to have a contingency plan for him, and maybe
Mhm.
Povich is that contingency plan. But I'm not going to sit here and say these two geriatric guys who have done nothing but pitch really, really well this spring to this point.
Mhm. Yeah, and I will say this: if there was one pitcher in the Orioles rotation who we would probably say this cannot happen to, it's Grayson Rodriguez,
Mm-hmm.
because really, when we expected the Orioles to go out and do more this offseason to bolster the rotation, and they did not outside of Charlie Morton and Sugano. Really, what has been sold to us, and the only thing that we have believed of things will go well if Grayson Rodriguez takes that next step.
Yep.
Because this rotation is filled with a couple threes, some fours, and stuff like that. But one of those threes is Grayson Rodriguez, who has the potential to become a 2 or a 1. He
Mm-hmm.
has the potential to take those steps. Everybody else is more on the veteran side, and they kind of are what they are, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Or you have Dean Kramer, who is a number 4, number 5, and we kind of know that's what he's going to be. Grayson Rodriguez, we knew could take that next step. Doesn't mean he would, not necessarily, but that's kind of what the team was selling to everyone here is Grayson Rodriguez can be that next Corbin Burns, which he could, but it's tough to rely on that when he's the only one you're relying on to do that. And now that he's being put on the shelf, that's what strikes all the worry is this was the one guy that you were trying to sell to us in-house that will make everything fine. And
Yeah.
now he's on the shelf, and your rotation is still filled with now 1 3 and a bunch of 4s.
So I'll tell you, I personally, and I know that I'm kind of on an island of sorts with this opinion. I think Grayson Rodriguez took that step into acehood when he came back after the All-Star break in 2023. In his last 13 starts, his ERA was 2.58 in 2023. Last year, he made 20 starts. 16 of those starts, his ERA was 2.53. And you're telling me that if Grayson Rodriguez makes 30 starts last year, and in 80% of those starts, he's got a 2.53 ERA. That means that in 24 of his 30 starts last season, he would have had a 2.53 ERA. If you give me 24 out of 30 starts where you're going 6 innings and allowing 2 runs or less, I'm signing up for that in blood. To me, that's an ace.
Oh, sure.
To me, you look that's basically what Corbin Burns did. Corbin Burns had a sub 3 ERA last year. He was phenomenal. But we all remember what happened to him in August. We saw what happened to Corbin Burns in August, where he had an ERA approaching 10 that month. He couldn't get out of his own way. And look, I think he was working on a slide step and trying to hold runners more and all that. And then in September, he let it eat again. And then in his one start in October, he pitched into the 9th inning. It was freaking awesome. But you're telling me that Grayson Rodriguez is going to give me 80% of his starts he's pitching to a 2.5 ERA? Hell yeah. That's an ace to me. That is an absolute ace to me. So, look, if Grayson Rodriguez comes back, 2 weeks from now, if he's starting a throwing program and then he makes a start, one start at the end of the Grapefruit League, and maybe he won't. 7 to 10 days from now, that puts you at about just over a week. 10 days from now is the 19th. That is 8 days before opening day to start a throwing program, which means he's not getting another Grapefruit League start. He's going to stay at extended spring training. But if we hear he's popping the radar gun at 95, 96, maybe hitting 97, and then he comes back 3 weeks into April, maybe he misses all of April, he comes back May 1st and he looks like Grayson Rodriguez again, this team's going to be fine. This team's going to be absolutely fine. And if Morton and Sugano are pitching up to their potential, I'm not too worried about it. I do think that they need a starting pitcher. I don't know how much you can count on Dean Kramer. He gave up 3 home runs the other day. I don't know how much you can count on him, but let's see what Povich can do. I have to believe he's got to be the guy to take Grayson's spot. but we'll see.
Yeah, and honestly, talking about Dean Kramer for a second, if you add another starter, and let's say Grayson Rodriguez comes back and is healthy for the rest of the season once he returns, and let's say you go ahead and make a midseason acquisition of a starting pitcher to bolster the rotation, Dean Kramer might be your odd man out, but Dean Kramer might be a guy who can go in that bullpen and help you out back there and be an internal addition from there. Because a Dean Kramer who can go out there for 1 or 2 innings at a time and let that fastball eat, that could be a lethal weapon there.
Absolutely. So we're certainly going to see what happens here. AJ says, but on the good side, it's going to be great if they start like 10 games under 500 with all these injuries. Highs should get the axe. The only silver lining of this disastrous offseason. That is just so doom and gloom, man. One, they're not going to be 10 games under 500. Dillon, let's look at this at the Orioles schedule. Let's take a look at the Orioles regular season schedule. See how they start the year. We know that they start in Toronto. Now, look, that could be a tough start going up against Toronto for 4 games. In Toronto, they're going to face Gossman. They're going to face Barrios. They're going to face Chris Bassett. Those are some good pitchers. So the Orioles are, if you have Eflin, Morton, Sugano, and Kramer going those first 4 games in however order, it's going to be Eflin on opening day now. You just got to keep pace. Get to the bullpen and see whose bullpen is better. I think that the Orioles bullpen may be better, but I'm not positive. Then you come home and you take on the Red Sox for 3 games in Baltimore. Followed by going to Kansas City, going to Arizona, coming home to face the Blue Jays, the Guardians, the Reds, then going to the Nationals for 3, the Tigers for 3, the Yankees for 3 to end the month. It's not the easiest schedule. Kansas City owned the Orioles in the postseason. The Orioles owned them in the regular season last year. The Kansas City dominated them pitching-wise in the postseason. The Diamondbacks are really good this year. They're really good. They won 89 games last year, and they missed the playoffs. More games than they won the year they went to the World Series. I think that you can handle the Blue Jays, the Guardians, and the Reds, and the Nationals. There's no knock on wood. There's no chance this team's going to be 10 games under 500. No. In my opinion, unless everybody gets hurt or everybody just completely underperforms, I think this team is going to play a few games above 500 to start the year until they get Kittredge back, they get Grayson back. But again, they could add somebody too. I don't look at the schedule. The hardest teams that you're going to face, in my opinion, are Kansas City. And honestly, I'm not even buying totally into Kansas City yet. I'm going to say Arizona, Detroit, and the Yankees are the 3 hardest teams. The Orioles are going to be fine. They're going to be fine to start the year.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Go ahead.
Daniel Pitts, it does seem like the Orioles beat writers are trying to gaslight us with Brian Baker. We know who he is. What's his, Jacob Calvin Meyer? Is that who it was? Who went on Twitter a couple of weeks ago when I saw that Brian Baker was like striking out a bunch of guys, and I was like, get this bum off of my team. And apparently he had given up a home run to Jordan West. No, he had struck out Jordan Westberg. He had given up a home run earlier that day, and he quoted my tweet, and he said, if Orioles fans are already losing their minds about Brian Baker giving up a home run this early in spring training, it's going to be a long season. And I was like, dude, don't misrepresent what my opinion is based solely off of what I've seen Brian Baker do in the regular season and the postseason for the Baltimore Orioles each of the last 3 years. It has nothing. I was like, I didn't even know that he gave up a home run earlier today. It was solely like I was responding to him striking out Jordan Westberg. It was solely because of my opinions based solely on what I've seen with my own 2 eyes in the regular season from Brian Baker. So like the gaslighting is real. The gaslighting is real. We all know who Brian Baker is.
I will say, and this might be me gaslighting now, but if there's ever a matchup I want to see Brian Baker in, it's against Toronto. He hates that ball club with a passion. He could literally give up a 400-foot fly out to dead center, and he's going to be staring right at that Blue Jays bench like, come and get some.
Right.
And you
Right.
know what? Good for you, Bake. Good for you. Hey, they open up in Toronto. Another reason why Brian Baker's going to be on the opening day roster. Maybe they'll open up against Toronto. Then they come home, face Boston, and then they face Toronto again. Maybe they're just going to let Brian Baker live his life during that stretch, and then once they're done facing the Blue Jays in that stretch, cut the axe.
I don't know. The cut the axe is a phrase, but I like it.
I messed up my words, but I think I like it.
cut the axe. Look, I am not a big Brian Baker fan. But look, I'm a diehard Orioles fan. Okay, and so there is nobody on the face of the planet that wants Brian Baker to succeed more than I do, because if Brian Baker succeeds, the Orioles are succeeding. And that's really all I care about. I would have to see an entire season of Brian Baker being a dominant reliever for me to believe that he is not the guy who gave up 3 home runs today. That's just the way that it is. Until I see him do this for 4 months straight, essentially, and even then, I don't trust him in the post. I have to see him be successful for an entire season for me to be like, oh, it's Brian Baker. He's cool. I'm good with him. You know, he fooled me after 2022. I'm not getting fooled again until I see it for an entire season. AJ says, sign Brian Robertson and Joe Kelly and trade for the Cardinals closer. If you ask me, this bullpen looks awful right now. I'm not a believer in Dominguez, not a believer in Brian Baker. I'm not sure what to expect from Soto. He's looked pretty good this spring. I like Cionel Perez. He's just got to be able to consistently throw strikes, because when he's on, he is so filthy. I don't know. Joe Kelly, no thank you. Had a 4.78 ERA with the Dodgers last year. Brian Robertson, yes, please. If you somehow pull off a trade for Ryan Helsley, not Ryan Helsley. Is it Ryan Helsley? Is that his name? Yeah. Ryan Helsley. I was thinking of Jordan Heasley with the Orioles last year. If you somehow pull off a trade for Ryan Helsley, I'd be cool with that. I don't think they're going to do that. I think it's going to cost too much right now. Sign Brian Robertson, bring him in, and I'll feel a lot better.
You mean David Robertson?
Yeah, David. Thank you. I'm reading Brian Robertson in the comment. He must have been combining David Robertson and Brian Roberts.
And Brian Roberts too. Screw it.
Yeah, bring in Brian Roberts. Let him play second base. AJ says, honestly, this is the first opening day since 2021 that I'm not excited about at the moment. Look, I'm excited about baseball. I love baseball. I'm ready for the season. I'm ready for warmer weather. You know, we hit daylight savings last night, and so now I'm excited when I leave today. The sun's still going to be out. That's super cool. I am all about springtime. I'm all about baseball. I'm excited. I don't know where to put my excitement level, because I don't know if this roster is complete. I think in my heart of hearts it is, but I want to see what they're going to do before they break spring training camp. To see what's going to happen.
Regardless, opening day is opening day to me, and no matter how much doom and gloom I've put on what the offseason, whether it was a failure or success, it doesn't matter. Opening day is a holiday, man. Mm-hmm. It just is. Even in the dark ages of Orioles baseball, opening day was opening day.
Trust me, I'm there with you on that. And like, Adley's hitting everything right now. Holiday looks much more. He looks much better in the field, much more relaxed and comfortable at the plate. He's stealing bases every time he gets on, or at least he's trying to. Calzer's hitting really well right now. You know that Gunner's going to be good. You know Westberg's going to be good. I am like this team, and you know that they're super upset. I couldn't watch that take flight video the other day. Like, hearing how upset they were, and then knowing that they didn't do everything, that the team didn't do everything from a personnel perspective with regards to the front office. They didn't do everything they could do to put the Orioles over the top this offseason. I couldn't watch it. I will at some point, but I couldn't do it. But like, I know that this team's hungry, and I know that they're upset about what happened. And I think that offensively, they're going to hit the ground running. And I think that their rotation is going to be good enough to get them through that first month until they get some of their guys back, you know? Mm-hmm. You know, and then if Bradish comes back in August, I don't think he gives you anything at all until September. Yeah. But look, if I'm proven wrong and he comes back July or August, I'm cool with that too. And he looks really good. Maybe that's a sneaky deadline move for the team that doesn't involve trading any of your guys. But I am excited about opening day and about baseball. I always have, because look, Dillon, at the end of the day, we're going to get to watch baseball every single night for the next 162 games, and we're going to get to watch a good team.
Yes.
We get to watch a good team.
I'm excited to be pissed off about baseball again.
Oh my gosh. I will tell you, somebody responded to one of my tweets when I was like, in the last 24 hours, this, that, or the other has happened, and that sucks. And they were like, all you do is complain. And it's like, are we starting already? Like, everybody has the right to be upset about what's going on with this team with the injuries right now. Like, why is it just that I'm complaining? And like, most of my stuff has been positive this off season, as far as, or this spring training. Like, come on. Like, I'm allowed to be upset that Grayson Rodriguez and Andrew Kittredge and Gunnar Henderson are hurt. What world are we living in where that's not okay? Like, they're the best, some of the best players on the team. I'm allowed to be upset that they're hurt.
Yeah.
You know, but if this season goes like it did the second half of last year, I'm not looking forward to that. That sucked. That sucked the life out of me.
Oh yeah.
Like Craig Kimbrell was living in my basement. AJ says, it just makes me sad that the Red Sox have lapped the Orioles in the farm system and also passed the Orioles in the big league. That's not true. I don't want to spend any time on that. The Orioles are far and away better than the Red Sox. Like, the Red Sox have a bunch of young starters. You don't know what you're getting out of them. Walker Buehler, he's a question mark. Their bullpen's not any good. And their offense, you know, they have internal problems. Like, they have a really good third baseman, two really good third basemen, but they have Alex Bregman, they have Rafael Devers, and then and they have Duran. Name another.
One thing sorry, go ahead.
And if Trevor Story's healthy. But like, I'll take the Orioles roster over the Red Sox roster right now.
The one thing on the Red Sox that I would take over the Orioles right now is that rotation. That Red Sox rotation is going to be pretty nasty.
Yeah.
So they added Crochet. They've already had a few workhorse starters on there. If Brian Bayo becomes a thing like he should become, that rotation is going to be a problem.
Yeah. Well, they got to play defense. They've got to hold leads with their bullpen. And we talk about, like, I'm not saying you're doing this, but we talk about these other teams like they aren't saying the same things about our team.
Yeah.
The Orioles have one of the best young rosters in the entire game. Like, let's give them the opportunity to go out there and prove that that a lot of these people are wrong. Daniel says, what is wrong with Mayo? I know we react as fans, but he looked horrible last season, 098. He looks horrible this spring, 115. Is he playing himself into a trade? Well, in his last two games, he is 2 for 3 with a double, an RBI, 1 strikeout. Like, look, it's a small sample size, but it's spring training, and it's only March 9th. Maybe the bat's going to get going. He's not, even if it does, he's not making the roster out of spring training. He never was going to. So, like, look, if the Orioles are somehow like, you know what, we got to get another starter, and they trade him to Seattle for Bryce Miller, are you going to be upset about that? I'm not.
No.
You know, I want to see Kobe Mayo hit in the middle of the Orioles order for a long time and hit 40 home runs and play a solid first base. You know, but like, he's got to get the opportunity to do that. I'm not worried about him. I mean, I think I'm worried about him in regards to his confidence, but as his ability as a player, I'm not worried about him at all.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Dude's got insane raw power for days. And just like you, I would love to see him hitting in the middle of this Orioles lineup soon. But right now, there's not an avenue for him to do that. Even if he was lighting the world on fire, whose spot is he taking on this roster right now?
Ryan O'Hearn shouldn't be here, but that's a story for another day. AJ replying to Daniel Pitts, no, the Orioles have to correct a hitch in his swing. If you missed last show, and I know Daniel, he doesn't miss many shows, if any. Zach Moore was talking about how Kobe Mayo does this thing where he raises his hands right before he swings, drops them, and then raises them again. And so it causes some timing issues at the big league level. And maybe he'll fix it. Maybe he won't. But he's still rated very highly by a lot of pundits. By MLB Pipeline rates him as the 14th best prospect and the Orioles' top power prospect. Yeah. So, like, I just hit myself in the teeth with my microphone. So I look at Kobe Mayo. Cut the axe. I look at Kobe Mayo as a guy who I think he's eventually going to figure it out at the big league level. But he's got to get his confidence right now. Maybe these couple of hits the last 2 days, like he smoked that double today down the line. Maybe he's going to start getting that confidence back. All right. AJ, this is in reference to the injuries on the Yankees. That's the best, Paul. He doesn't die, and the Yankees still have to pay him while he misses time. He's talking about Aaron Judge. Yeah. Like, look, I'm not going to cry a tear for somebody who makes $40 million a year tearing their ACL and like still having a better quality of life than anybody I know. Like, sorry, you're not getting my sympathy. Like, if you tear your ACL and now if Aaron Judge tears his ACL and he can't play baseball all season, sucks for the Yankees.
Yeah, exactly. That's really my mindset is sucks to be you, Yankees.
Yeah. AJ, I am hoping Bregman has to get cartilage knee surgery and Crochet has inflammation on the throwing elbow. Marcelo Meyer has severe intercostal pain, sprain, just jumping on the Paul train. Man, what did I start? What did I start? Like, I don't hope this happens to a lot of players. Like Aaron Judge, if Aaron Judge gets hurt, like I kind of hope that happens. It's just like I would always hope that Ben Roethlisberger would get hurt. Like, I don't want these guys to die or be completely debilitated the rest of their lives. But like, man, like I'm not hoping about that for anybody on the Red Sox.
And I wasn't part of this.
I'm not hoping for that for anybody else. Like, it's really like legitimately Aaron Judge. Like, that's about it. Because that guy and all that crap last year about the ballpark and every year about the ballpark. And then like the Yankees hit like 12 Orioles batters. The Orioles hit like 3 Yankees batters, but twice it was Aaron Judge. And it was like, oh my God. So they like to pitch inside. It's like, it's what they like to do. The Yankees led the majors in hitting batters from the pitching side of things last year. Like I hope that whatever injury happens is because an Orioles player throws inside. I don't hope that, because that means Gunner's getting hit, and right. I don't want that. You know what I mean? But like, Aaron Judge can screw off, man. He can totally screw off.
And most of that complaining was really from the Yankees themselves, not even their fan base. It was the Yankees themselves. I watched a full, I think it was a 15-minute John Boy segment, which John Boy not only did a breakdown of when Kjerstad got hit in the head, but also on their podcast, they talked about all the hits, batters, and stuff. And they're all Yankees fans on there. And all they were talking about was, I don't know what the Yankees are even complaining about, because they're hitting the Orioles left and right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not even the Yankees fans that did all the complaining last year. It was
for sure.
It was just Aaron Judge and Alex Verdugo, and that was it. Like.
And that's why I like John Boy, because he keeps it real. He's not like he's obviously a Yankee fan, but he's not going to sit there and be like, oh, well, the Yankees do this and screw you, Orioles. Look, he keeps it real. Like, the Yankees hit far more Orioles players. Look, it's already 6:30. Somehow this happened again. Somehow it happened again. So we're gonna breeze through the rest of these.
Laura, you were right.
She was right. Brian Bello is hurt already. That's from Zach Moore. Zach also said, Paul has been well behaved this offseason. LOL. I have been well behaved. Damn it, I have been well behaved. I'm trying to make changes, because I don't think I'm negative. I think I'm real, but that perspective is reality, right? Adit says, only thing I can think of with Robertson is he's seriously thinking about retirement. I don't think that, because then I don't think they'd be mentioning his name. I haven't seen anything about that. I think he wants to pitch, and I think that people are just worried about how old he is. Daniel, opening day is a national holiday to all baseball fans. I'll always be excited. Yes, I think it should be a national holiday. We shouldn't have to work on that day. Daniel pitch. Brian Baker is a pitcher version of Ryan McKenna. Oh, don't you put that voodoo on Brian Baker. No, you know what? I can't even. AJ, cut the axe. Love it. That is why Dillon cracks me up. Man, he loves you. AJ loves you, Dillon. You have.
Wait. So did AJ want me back for my baseball analysis, or is it because I fumble my words and he actually thinks I'm a comedian?
He thinks he does. He did mention he thinks that you're funny. He's like he's like the big guy with the beard, Dillon. I like that guy.
The big guy with the beard.
Baker is Mike Ballman 2. Zach said Baker is Mike Ballman 2.0. Need Brandon Young in the pen. The pen needs guys with options in a bad spot with lack of options. I agree, but I also think the lack of options is why Baker's going to make this team with Kittredge down. Zach also said, fellas, I think that was his way of saying, good day to you, sir.
Hey,
good day to you, Zach. Glad you're tuning in. Fangraphs projects us to go 83-79 this season. Hyde gets fired. Hyde absolutely gets fired with that record. If the Orioles win 83 games this year, Hyde absolutely gets fired with that record. Daniel, Paul, that Elias lying was like a comic routine when they mentioned something at the beginning of the set and then worked their way back around to it to end the show. I felt it. When I said it, I felt it, and I was like, we just got to end here. We should have ended here. Laura would have been happy. I wouldn't still be sitting here at 6:33 doing the show. I would be in the car on the way home right now to cook some dinner. Damn it. It was like, remember when George on Seinfeld came up with the comeback, and it was like 2 days too late, and then when they said something, he had to come back for him, and it was like, what? That's what this feels like now.
Oh, yeah.
Guys, we gotta get out of here. That's gonna do it for us on the show. Dillon, thank you so much. Love having you on the show. Every other Sunday when Zach can't do the show, I'm gonna ask you every week, so just be prepared for that. Tell your wife to be prepared for every 2 weeks. Paul's gonna ask you to do the show, and you're gonna have to ask her because I love having you on. It's always great baseball talk. You are a very knowledgeable gentleman. Zach Moore, looking forward to seeing you on our show next week as we get closer to opening day. And Dillon, anything you wanna leave us with before we let you go?
Can opening day be tomorrow?
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, can opening day be tomorrow? Right? I agree with you. Thank you to all of our sponsors. Without you, we don't have a show. Thank you to all of our loyal fans, viewers, listeners. Without you, we 100% do not have a show. Until next.